Hello, and welcome to my retirement roadmap. This is a video about Medicare enrollment basics. People typically only enroll in Medicare once in their life, so it's not something that is discussed a lot, but I'm hoping this video will help folks as they go through that Medicare enrollment process. We'll first talk about the initial enrollment period. This is for people who are signing up for Medicare at age 65, and that's when most people become eligible to enroll in Medicare. There's a 7-month enrollment period for Medicare, this initial enrollment period. Basically, it's 3 months before your 65th birthday and then the month that you turn 65, and then the 3 months after the birthday. Okay, so this is important to understand. For example, my birthday is in January, so I am eligible to start enrollment in October. So, like October 1st is when I can start signing up for Medicare. And so I have October, November, December. Those are 3 months before. I have January, and then I have February, March, and April. But the idea here is to start as soon as possible. So, I'm setting a mental clock here that on October 1st, I will start the process to enroll in Medicare. And that way it's all set up. Everything's good to go. So on January 1st, I'm enrolled. Everything's hunky-dory. Don't have to worry about it. Now, there is something I want to point out. That is, it's an odd thing, but if a person's birthday is on the first of the month, then they are considered as having turned 65 the month before. So, in my scenario, if I had been born on January 1st, then Medicare, and this also applies to Social Security, would consider me as turning 65 in December. So that's not the case for me, but what's it? Basically, 1 in 30 people roughly are born on the first of the month. So something to pay attention if you were born on the first of the month. Okay. Also another thing is that the enrollment for Medicare starts on the Social Security website, so SSA.gov. It's not on Medicare, the Medicare site. You start on Social Security, SSA.gov. Now, I did want to point out what we talked about here. This is the initial enrollment period at 65. That's for most people. Now, there is delayed, we call it delayed Medicare, and that's for people who are working or their spouse is working for an employer that covers them with health care. And they can say, some people they work past 65. You can stay with the employer's coverage and you can delay Medicare. And the rule here is that you can do this without penalty if you're in a creditable group health coverage from an employer. Now, there are rules behind that. I'm not going to get into all that, but it's something to definitely pay attention if you are delaying taking Medicare past the age of 65. Super important that you understand everything there. Then, once you are you've delayed Medicare and then you want to start this Medicare, you've got this special enrollment period. So it's a little bit different. You get an 8-month window to enroll for penalty free. And it is important also, if you're doing this, your employer will have to provide, that's my understanding, you will have to provide information that says, hey, listen, they were okay. They had coverage. And that's why they were able to delay, and that you don't get a penalty. But if you miss that, you could get a penalty. And this also is for Part D as well, the drug plan. So make sure you've got all the information you need if you are delaying Medicare. Now, here's just something I want to point out. This is basically my observation that for private sector employees, so they're not public sector, but private sector employers, especially if they're not under a bargain for arrangement, for example, a union, in many situations, the original Medicare with Plan G and a Part D plan, that that covers that coverage can be basically better than what you can get through your employer. It might cost a little bit more, but it's something to consider. You might be getting better coverage. So definitely review your options before you decide to delay Medicare. Worth the investigation, the research, etc. Okay. So now we're going to move along. We will talk about choosing Medicare because, and I could go on for an hour about all the stuff that happens here, but I've tried to synthesize this down to stuff that's really helpful for folks. But effectively, you can choose between Medicare Advantage, which is also called Part C. Okay, so you can choose a Medicare Advantage plan, or you can choose Original Medicare. So those are basically the two options. Now, why would people choose Medicare Advantage? This is extremely popular, Medicare Advantages. And so let's walk through some of this. Typically, the premiums are lower. In some plans, they're even zero. It doesn't cost you any monthly premium for Medicare Advantage. Zero. And in even some cases, they'll even help pay for your uh, Part B. Okay? So Medicare Advantage can be less money, definitely. And I guess in most cases, the premiums, they are less money, the premiums themselves. And also, Medicare Advantage typically bundles this Part D drug coverage. Original Medicare does not. So Advantage will typically includes that drug coverage. Then also some of these Medicare Advantages, they also include other benefits like dental, vision, gym memberships. You probably have heard about some of these in the advertisements. Okay, they include those. Something to also consider, and here's another one: the annual out-of-pocket maximum, so that you have to pay, is typically capped with a Medicare Advantage. In fact, I'm pretty sure they are. But with Original Medicare, there is no out-of-pocket maximum. So uh, basically, you could end up paying a lot of money if you don't have a Medigap plan. But we'll get to that in a second. The other reason why people would choose Medicare Advantage is because they're familiar with this HMO or PPO structure that they've been in. They're like, hey, listen, this is what I've been doing for years. I'm familiar with it. I'm just going to take on their, in one case, their HMO, if you've been with an HMO, or the PPO, Medicare Advantage. I'm just sticking with that. That's another reason why people would do this. And then there's a lot of advertising. In fact, I think all Medicare advertising that I'm aware of is all for Medicare Advantage. And they talk about it and it's discussing you're familiar with there's celebrities involved, etc. So that's one of the and also you'll get a lot of mail, right? Comes through saying here's Medicare Advantage plan. So something to consider that's why people typically choose Medicare Advantage. However, my recommendation, okay, and this is general advice. This is not specific to anybody, but all things being, everything else being equal, my recommendation is to go with Original Medicare and choose a Medigap plan, and that is Plan G. Now, the intention here is not to go into everything that's involved there with Medigap plan part, the Plan G, but I do say that this is the recommendation. And why is that? Okay, is because these Original Medicare is accepted by almost all providers. I mean, it's like if you go and say to a hospital or a doctor, do you accept Original Medicare? And I read some statistics somewhere. It's over 90%. So getting that is not an issue. Whereas if you're with Medicare Advantage, you typically have to stay within their networks. And if you go outside of the networks, it's going to cost more money, etc. So basically, Original Medicare is more widely accepted. The other thing is it's better for people who travel or even snowbirds who spend the winters in a different climate because it's warmer. It just the portability of your coverage is much easier. And then as far as authorization requirements, typically far fewer than what happens with Medicare Advantage. Additionally, the the out of pocket costs are much more predictable with original Medicare, especially if you have a Plan G. The only thing you're really on the hook for is the Part B deductible. That's really, and that's I think that's somewhere around $300 and change right now. That's basically what you pay out of pocket, in addition to the premiums that you're paying. And the also thing is these benefits are standardized. So if you picked a Plan G is a Plan G is the Plan G. They have to, those benefits are standardized. So it's not like you can say, well, this Plan G has more benefits than that. They're standardized. And so then it just becomes a matter of when you're looking at different Plan Gs, for example, you just pick the one that is more cost effective or more well known to you, that sort of thing. Now, there are original Medicare, there's protections and rules, okay? So you do get to enroll in a Medigap plan. Choose original Medicare. You get to choose that for up to the 6 months after you're enrolled in Part B. Okay, so you get 6 months. And they can't deny you based on coverage or your health or anything. It's just you enroll and you're good to go. And as long as you stay within that plan, your Medigap plan, you never have to go through underwriting. They never can ask about health and that sort of thing or deny coverage for any reason. Okay, that's important. The However, like if you start out with Medicare Advantage and then you're outside of these exceptions where you can switch to original Medicare, you could be in trouble. You might have to stay with Medicare Advantage. There are some protections, okay? Like if your plan is discontinued or you move out of the service area, you move out of where your Medicare Advantage is, you move out of the service area and they just don't offer anything, then there might be an exception there. You could switch to original Medicare. And there's also this first year trial where you can switch. If you start on Medicare Advantage, you can switch back or you can switch to original Medicare. And all that being said, there are state-specific rules that you really have to understand as well. So, and I'm not going through all those because that would take a lot of time and doesn't apply to everybody. And since I'm in California, there is the California birthday rule, which adds protections, and then the other states have even better rules as far as how that goes with switching with Medicare Advantage and original Medicare. So be sure to look those up as well. Bottom line, I just wanted to cover all this as far as enrolling in Medicare and give some of the high level basics and just emphasizing again, my recommendation for most people is that they enroll in original Medicare with a Medicare, a Medigap plan, which would be which would be the Plan G. Okay, that's typically my advice. It is going to be probably the most expensive as far as premiums are concerned, but in the long run, as we age and get older, and especially if we travel, I think that's the best way to go for most people. Thanks, and we'll chat soon on other educational videos.